You're listening to the Art of Quantum Healing podcast with your host, Leisa Nadler. Each week we'll be welcoming divine souls who have overcome trauma, mental health addiction, and found next level abundance through mind, body, and soul connection. We will be going deep on one subject to teach and guide you. My mission is to help you high vibe, thrive with inner peace, passion, and purpose, all in the name of evolution. Welcome to another magical episode of the Art of Quantum Healing. Today I have one of my beautiful friends and also a lady that taught me all about breath work, the beautiful, now I'm going to get her name right this time, I did it, Berenice, you're going to have to say it again. I always call her Bear, so and this time it's like, no, my name, so it was like, oh God, I've got to get this right. So can you say it properly?
Yes, and it was perfect. I love the spin that you put on it, Leisa. It was amazing. And how I have trained myself to say it is Berenice, because apparently it's actually said Berenice or Berenice, depending on what country you're from.
I like the last one.
Yeah, Berenice sounds nice. Hey, my friends didn't really know, and so I just invented my own, which is Berenice.
I love it. That's so cool. That's brilliant. I love it. Something different. It's like my name. Mum put an E in there and she thought I'd be exotic. I'm like, no. She got a tomboy. So the beautiful Berenice, I'm just going to call you Bear.
You just call me
beautiful Bear. Is a master at, and she's really has mastered the art of breath work. When I did her course, it was simply super juicy. I mean, I went from not knowing anything about breath work apart from in through your nose, out through your mouth when you normally breathe during the day, to learning an expansive array of different breaths, to learning how to process trauma, and it wasn't just breath work. There was so much more that we did amongst it. And this is your passion, isn't it? This is your passion and your purpose and your deep soul work is to help establish coaches and visionaries to use breath as a vehicle to scale down time, energy, and effect while levering up their authentic expression, amplifying their impact. That's fucking awesome. I love it. It's so like breath. Oh my God. Before we get into it, tell us a little bit about you and how you got into this.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Where do I start? If we go way back, once upon a time, there was a really shy, beautiful little people-pleasing Asian girl who had gotten engaged to a man that she loved, but didn't know how to love herself. And then couldn't really fully embrace that intimacy. And at the time, I was like, oh, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'd experienced a lot of childhood abuse, so sexual abuse from my stepdad growing up, and then also social anxiety and eating disorders. So I was very disconnected from myself. And then when I was in this relationship with this man, I'd been with him for 7 years, lost my virginity to him. Yeah, engaged to be married. And I just knew, I was like, something's wrong. I don't know what it is. I need to go figure it out. And I ended up doing meditation. I did a 10-day retreat. And during that time, I was not a spiritual being. I was always a spiritual being. I just didn't know or remember.
It's everybody, right? It's like, it's a whole different realm.
Yeah. And I didn't really, I meditated 15 minutes max. I didn't know what spirituality was. I thought that my friend who prayed to the universe was weird. I thought that people who didn't wear shoes were gross. Like, this is the level of disconnection that I had around connection to nature and self. And then when I went to this meditation boot camp, I'll say, it was like Vipassana, and all my It was this moment when I was in my room, and it was indescribable. It was like black clouds of energy coming from the sides of my vision and wrapping me in a coffin or a cocoon or a birthing womb or something. And I just was like thrown back into my 12-year-old self, and I started crying and shaking, and I felt like I was going to be sick, and I started laughing, and I didn't know what the fuck was happening. And then I remembered everything from my childhood. I like re-experienced as a 12-year-old girl all the events that I pushed down, and I was like laughing because I was like, holy shit, this is how it feels. Like I'm like thinking, oh my God, is this what people feel? They can feel their emotions, joy, happiness, bliss, grief, sadness, fear. Like this feels amazing. And once I left that, I was like, I've got to bring this back. Like this is everything. I didn't know what I didn't know. I think that was the big thing.
I love that. And so many of us don't, and still are learning.
Yeah, always, right? And and then what I didn't know that I didn't know, and so this is how I found breathwork, because I went to America because I'd researched. I was like, I'm bringing this back to Australia, and I'm going to end anxiety and depression across the nation. That was my plan. And so I went and studied everything I could: sound therapy, Reiki, crystal healing, breathwork. What else? I came back and I did NLP, mastery. I did everything I could.
Did it all.
And then and when I did my first breathwork class, I remember it was like the only class that was repeatedly sold out in these US studios. So I was like, well, there must be something to this. And the first time I went, have I told you this story before?
Yeah, you have.
Yeah. First time I went.
I love it.
Some like bald guy with glasses and a suit is like yelling at me like a football coach, like, breathe, and if you do, what's uncomfortable gets to be comfortable now. And I'm just like lying there thinking, after having spent so much time in soft contemplative meditation, like, holy shit, this is awful. I'm like, why does
shut up and stop yelling at me?
Why does anyone do this? And then I blacked out.
Ooh.
And that was my grand experience of my first breathwork until I went back the second time, because I was like, there must be something to this. Like there's 44 people in every class selling out all the time.
Yeah.
And second time, totally different. 15 minutes in, I'm pinned to the floor. My heart is breaking, like bursting open. Feels like a light, like Zeus's bolt of lightning, and it is pure love has just gone and pinned me to the floor, and I'm like choking on my own snot because I'm feeling so all
the beautifulness. Love it.
And I was like, wow, I can't believe that this modality took me to that place in 15 minutes when it took me 10 days through meditation. Like this is it. And again, did not know how it worked. Didn't even trust that it would work. Like I went there fighting it and hating it the whole time. Yeah. And then it was so fast. And it was so profound. And I just thought, this is the bit. This is what I want to bring back and give to as many people as possible, so that they can have that experience of going beyond the mind and going into samadhi, so that they know what that actually feels like, to be separate from the noise of thinking and who we think that we should be.
So basically detach from our human mind, which is the place that we live in all the freaking time, and what gets us into the most trouble.
Yeah. And it's like so beautiful and powerful, and I'm so grateful for it. And it's like there's such a density now in the like, what is it? What do they say? Instead of allowing it to serve us, it becomes the master of us. So breathwork is one of the fastest modalities that you don't need to understand to get you to go beyond the mind, so you can see it as the powerful tool that it is, instead of having it be the master of you and being enslaved to it. And so, I was like, great, I'm going to give this to all the powerful people that I know and have them influence their communities. And again, the piece here is that it allows people to empower other people to be sovereign in their own journeys and their own healing, because I can give you something, a recording, a replay of a class, or like my Spotify playlist, and then everyone can just go on their journey, and they're literally listening to their own intuition, trusting themselves and healing themselves without my presence. And Yeah, so it is
impactful. It's powerful. It's that domino feeling, isn't it? And there always is the way show. The one person always has to go first. And the fact that you brought that over here and you built the Soulside Breathwork Facilitator Training and the actual the actual container for the breathwork as well is magical, because now you teach. And this is the biggest thing is, when you have zero ego and you have zero attachment to anything and you just want to make a difference and you just come from total heart, you're spreading your word, you're spreading your love, and you're spreading your magic and medicine, and it's just freaking beautiful. So talk to us about this because it's one of the things that I remember in the first day that we did our training. Well, I was reading the stuff going through it, and I was like, wow, I breathe wrong. Like, I breathe from here up. I am a shallow breather, which is the majority of us, right? So we don't even really breathe properly. And since I've changed my breathing, oh my God, my body is completely different in how it responds and how it is. It's so beautiful. So talk to us about the simplicity of the breath.
Oh, amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Leisa, and that great question. The simplicity of the breath. People think because it's so simple that it must not work, but they don't realize that the tiniest tweaks create the most profound changes. So when we talk about the way most people breathe now, our bodies have maladapted to the environment that we're in. So we're born breathing into the belly, and then as we grow up through our conditioning, we're told, okay, suck your belly in, hold it together, look a certain way, and so we flatten out our diaphragm, and then we also freeze it. And then we notice, especially in women, that there is this tendency to, if you feel aggressive or anger, to tense up and be unable to release that. And then we hold it in the womb, in the pelvic area. And so again, that muscle learns it's not allowed to move. And when we breathe into the belly, we're accessing at least, I'm going to list two things for simplicity's sake. When we breathe into the belly, we're able to move 40 mils of oxygen around the body instead of just 6 mils of oxygen around the body.
It's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah, even just that figure. My God.
Yeah. And so the piece there is that when you're breathing into your chest, you're actually only oxygenating the top of your lungs. And because we are subject to gravity, most of the fresh blood actually sits down the bottom of the lungs. And if we're only chest breathing, we're actually only bringing that oxygen into the top part. And so all this blood down the bottom is missing out. And so our whole circulation we're not absorbing an optimum amount of oxygen in that breath. And it's so interesting because, that's the second thing I want to share. Now, 60% of our lymph nodes are below the diaphragm. And the lymph fluid that moves through the body is what moves toxins out of the blood. And this it's another thing. When we move our belly and actually use the muscles in our diaphragm, we're massaging all those lymph nodes and we're moving that lymph fluid. There's no actual pump. There's a pump for your blood in your heart, but there's no pump for the lymph fluid in your body. So when you're actually moving your belly, you're pumping lymph fluid through your body and purging the toxins from your blood. Yeah. So there's two powerful reasons why we breathe into the belly.
Yeah.
And to make it super, super basic and super simple, basically, when we breathe into the chest, we're activating our sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight or flight system. So that part of us that in the olden days used to see a bear and then would fully activate and get laser vision, and then all the blood would get shunted to our major muscle groups so that we could go and prepare for this battle with this bear or run away, right?
Run.
Very much back then.
Run a tree.
Maybe we did in our past lives because we're hardcore.
True.
But it's interesting because that physiological response adapted to the circumstances of that time. But now we live in an age where realistically we're not confronted with bears, lions, tigers. Instead, we're confronted with a pissed off boss or a frustrated teenager. And there's this activation again and again in the sympathetic nervous system, and we breathe through our chest, and then we miss out on all the systems that are actually not essential for survival in that moment, like the reproductive system, like healing the body, like digestion, reproductivity, and healing the body or immune response all turn off when we're in fight or flight. So when we're chest breathing, we're actually deactivating those systems that rejuvenate our entire body and turn it back to homeostasis. So when we breathe into the belly, totally different experience. We go immediately into parasympathetic, and we go into rest and digest, which means that we're able to allow our body to recuperate and recover rather than be in a state of fighting or running away.
Which is why most of us live this life always feeling like we're behind the 8 ball. It's like because our body can't process how it needs to process. It can't actually do what it needs to do. And this is just one simple thing of taking a breath in and a breath out. Can you imagine what the rest of our body is like? You know, if we learned these things from a younger age, there's so much that should be in schools that's not, but we're not going to go into that because it's a whole different fucking story. You know, there's so many different things that we need to know so that, I know, right?
Got my brain like just wanting to show the encyclopedia of breath down everyone's throats right now. I do want to add one more thing. Is that okay?
Go for it.
Okay. So the other thing I will add is mouth breathing versus nasal breathing. So in my training, we go into this a little bit, but I've taken my study even further and I'm learning even deeper things now. So basically, when you breathe in through the nose, you're activating your paranasal sinuses, which release nitric oxide into the body, and nitric oxide dilates your blood vessels and allows that circulation to flow. Now, things like circulatory problems, erectile dysfunction, heart problems, cardiovascular issues, all of these are caused through constricted arteries.
Yes.
Which naturally occurs over time as we age through the buildup of plaque and blood clotting. So if we breathe through the nose, we're actually preventing these easily preventable diseases by dilating the blood vessels with nitric oxygen.
This is why it's not taught, because it's not a pill, and they'd rather give you a pill, right? It's just fucking crazy. Like our body, and when you hear that, when people say, "Oh, you are your one true healer," I mean, I say that a lot, and I've heard you say it as well. Probably not in the same lines, but definitely in the same context. And it's like people sort of go, "Well, what do you mean? This is it. This is what you are saying right here, right now, is why we can bear and heal." It doesn't have to be all the traumatic stuff. We'll get to that trauma stuff in a minute, but you know, it can be the simplicity of keeping your body healthy. This is the vessel. This is the one vessel you have, and when you can really learn the ultimate way to get everything you can and to love your vessel from a whole different other way, your body thrives. Like my energy. Since I started, like in my morning practice now, I do 3 of the breath works that we learned, and I have so much energy. I am vitalized. I am awake. I am alert. My mind is clear. My body feels great. I can walk longer. I can exercise more. It just has such a roll-on effect, and your energy shift. Oh my God, the energy shift. You just change it into a completely different frequency straight after doing it. It's fucking magical. It really is. It's so simple. It's so simple.
It's 5 minutes. It's 10 minutes. This morning, I slept 3 hours last night. I only had 3 hours sleep because I took my mum to the airport this morning at like a ridiculous hour. And as soon as I got up, I was like, ugh. And then I did a 10-minute Kapalabhati practice, which is breath of fire, and instantly just felt right. And I felt amazing.
And I also do a few of the breaths too through the day. Like I'm like, oh, I've got a lot of work on a computer. I'll be like, oh my God, I'm knackered. I just do some of the breath works. I do some of the different things, and I'm like, cool. I don't drink caffeine anymore.
Yes,
I was a caffeine 4 or 5 times a day girl.
Oh.
I don't need caffeine. It was terrible. I'm down, but I don't need it. It's like I have so many, and this is like what you teach. You know, you teach people, and this is what we need. We need to have this new way of learning how to be, and we have this little toolbox, and we can go, oh, so I'm going to have some peppermint oil today to give me a bit of a buzz. Oh no, I'm going to do some breath work to lift because I need to have some energy for something, or mental clarity, or whatever it might be. It's so important, this sort of stuff. I mean, you need to go into schools. So let's talk. Oh yeah, yes.
It was actually where I started. I was a primary school teacher, and then I was frustrated. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Wow. I could see you doing that. You would just love the kids to death. I mean, you'd just be amazing. You really would.
I was like a wiggle. I was like
Can I take your child home? Huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk transformations, because I know that, the one of the breaths that you taught was a little bit like the Wim Hof. It was a little bit, it was the trauma breath, and that is such a magical breath for release. And this is another thing when you talk about, becoming your own healer and being able to do it very fast, the healing process. And also one thing I want to mention now, to people that are listening, is that the veil is very thin right now. The veil is so thin right now. We are processing things liquid speed now. The frequency on Earth has moved to such a vibration because we are ready to do a whole lot of new work and a whole lot of new ascension, that we are transmuting and alchemizing things from within really, really fast. So when you do something like this breath work, it just happens even, oh my God, it just happens even more deeper. And you're actually, well, I'll let you explain. I'm not going to go into it. So talk to us about this beautiful, the trauma release breath, because it's one of my fave.
Amazing. Yes, me too. It's what initiated me into the whole thing. And I love what you said about the speed right now, alchemizing.
And in our dreams.
Yeah.
Well, you don't sleep, so you don't get any of that.
Don't need it. I just alchemize it. That's actually interesting, because it's funny, as you were talking about being your own healer, I had this awareness of, there's what I do now when I experience tiredness is I tap into, I don't believe that tiredness is a real thing. Like, it doesn't exist in my reality.
But we're programmed, you need 8 hours sleep. So what do we think? Oh, I haven't 8 hours, so I'm tired. Absolutely.
Exactly,
yeah.
Right? And so I think to myself, well, what purpose am I choosing this? And then I go down the different emotions that I'm experiencing. I'm like, oh, frustration, oh, shame, oh, guilt, oh, sadness, oh, grief, grief. And then I'm like, and then I'm purging whatever that base emotion is. As soon as it's alchemized at lightning speed, like you said, like no wonder the veil is so thin. As soon as it's alchemized, the tiredness is gone.
Because we attach to something, right? We attach to something. Oh, I haven't had 8 hours, so I must be tired because I'm told that I must be tired because I've been told I need 8 hours. Same as breakfast. I don't eat breakfast. Like, I cannot eat until 11 o'clock. If I eat in the morning, my energy goes. When we're all different, we're all so different. So there's this thing of the same thing. You've got to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Oh, I haven't had lunch, so I must be hungry. Are you really hungry? Are you really? Really? No. No.
Hungry.
Yeah.
Like, are you? Yeah. Do you have to be hungry, or are you hungry?
Because we don't need much food. Our tummy's that big, for goodness sake. I keep going on a little rant, don't I? That's cute.
I love it. It's amazing. I love your transmissions. The where that awareness came in when I was speaking about the emotions coming down, right? I'm like, so what I've experienced through transformational breathwork is that whatever has been pushed down is finally allowed the freedom to be lifted and released and integrated and alchemized at lightning speed, just like you said. And so how it's like the most simple, again, so simple. Anyone can do it. You breathe in and out of the mouth with no pause at the bottom or top, and you use your belly to absorb this breath. And obviously there's a little bit more to it, which, I can give your people guided breath work so they can have that extra facilitation.
That'd be beautiful. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. And like, if you want to look at it, like, we can look at it from the spiritual and the scientific world, understanding that both of them are complete, and also when they come together, they are an incomplete description of what's actually occurring. So what we understand through this explanation is that science and spirituality are two different languages. Science is a language of the masculine. It is logic, formula, structure, algorithm, and it quantifies and classifies and categorizes. And it has its limitations because it relies solely on structure. And then we have the feminine language, or spirituality, which is imagery, metaphor, feeling, emotion. It's poetry, right? And again, it has its limitations because it has no fixed structure. And so people think, oh, cool, it's a bit of this and a bit of that. It's like, no, it's not. They're two complete descriptions that do not make sense together and also incompletely describe the actual experience of breathwork itself. Because what breathwork is cannot actually be quantified. So I'm going to break it down from both perspectives. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, go for it. Love it.
Yes.
Rolling, sister.
So from a scientific perspective, what we're looking at is when you breathe this much, you're actually over-oxygenating the body. Now, people think that there's by breathing more, this means that more oxygen is entering our tissues, and we're allowing oxygen to distribute into muscles and organs at a faster rate. It's not true. When we breathe more, we actually go into oxidative stress because we've got a 96%, generally speaking, oxygen saturation in the bloodstream anyway. Just let me know if I'm getting too sciencey. I'm aware.
Roll, baby. Keep going.
Roll. Okay. Awesome. So we're at a 96% oxygen saturation anyway. So when we overbreathe, all we're doing is bringing that to 100%, which is nothing, right? It's just no difference. And so when we do this breath work, what we're actually doing is releasing carbon dioxide so rapidly that we're going into almost oxidative stress or respiratory alkalosis. And this means that oxygen can only be released in the presence of carbon dioxide in the body. But in our breath work, we get rid of so much carbon dioxide so quickly that the oxygen can't be released. And this means that certain parts of our brain and body get deprived of oxygen. And there's a myth going around in many breathwork spaces where it's like, oh, through breathwork, you go straight into your sympathetic nervous system. I'm like, no, it's the opposite.
Oh my God.
You go
It just takes one person to say something, doesn't it? And then
it does, yeah. And and I'm sure there's things I'm saying about yoga that, haven't been true in the past. So it's like, it's all perfect for the level of consciousness we're at. And what actually happens in breathwork is we over-oxygenate, we decrease carbon dioxide, we go into a stress response, but consciously. So we activate sympathetic nervous system in our body. We deprive our bodies of oxygen by over-oxygenating.
Yeah.
And then this inhibits the prefrontal cortex. And this is the neocortex. And so there's layers to the brain. There's the lizard brain, the instinct to survive, to eat, to have sex, to, what else? Eat, sleep, hunger.
That's it, isn't there?
Hey?
Exactly.
Yeah. And then there's the next part of the brain that evolved, which was the mammalian brain, which is that part of us that can actually feel emotion. So like you look at, elephant families, and if a baby elephant dies, it's like the family mourns. Or there's even documentaries that show that they will go and visit the bones of their ancestors and just hang out there, and then they'll keep going. Like, so that there's emotion there. And then the final part of the brain to evolve was the neocortex, or the human part, the thinking, analyzing, evaluating, planning, discriminating, the one that just like...
When we live in.
It has two modes. In my brain, it has two modes. It's like, it's either like beating me up and it's like, you're the worst person in the world and you should just go, like, you're a piece of shit. Or it's like, everyone's just so lucky that they get to be around you. Like, you're just so amazing. Like, I bet like they're going away talking about how great you are right now, just about that great thing that you did. Right? Like, there's two modes. And so the thinking mind is that neocortex. And when we inhibit oxygen and deprive oxygen to certain parts of the brain and body, that's the part that switches off. And then
the transformation happens.
Then we can actually feel what the fuck is going on beneath all the noise.
Because you get out of your own way, don't you? It's just...
Yes. And it's the reality of, this is how I feel. This is what's actually going on in my body. Am I masturbating over thinking that I'm tired because I did this, I didn't get this much sleep, and this is why, and this is the reason, and this is where I should be compared to where I actually am? Or is it just that I'm not living the life that I desire, and I'm frustrated and I'm exhausted fighting myself, but now I can actually feel how much I love my life and what I want? And then I feel that feeling and I wake the fuck up. Okay, I'm getting really passionate now.
Yeah, baby, go.
And so this is what breathwork does. It takes us back to the truth. Or how do I really feel? And then on the spiritual level, we go even further back, go to the survival instincts, right? That primal part of the brain. Like, what lies there? It's your ancestral coding. It's your genetic. It's like, we think, oh yeah, I have to eat because of this. It's like, no, you have to eat because of fucking millions of years of programming through your genetics and through your ancestors and the first life form that ever existed. That's why. Because your conditioning is coming through in that tiny little router in your brain that connects to the rest of the internet of the human consciousness and the universal consciousness.
Oh, I like how you said that. That was good. Great. I love that.
Yeah, and so with breathwork, we get to clean up our ancestry too. We get to jump timelines. We get to step outside of what is just in the physical plane, but we tap into the router of the universe, and we're able to integrate past lives. We're able to do quantum leaps, like quantum healing, like you said. It's like, sure, people say, within 3 weeks or 3 months, you'll see healings and you'll see differences in your body and breathwork.
It's instant in breathwork.
It's instant, okay? It is.
And the feeling you have afterwards, it's that really euphoric of like, oh God, I feel light. I feel like and it's a sense of coming back to home. It's like, oh, I feel really juicy and yummy, and I just want to curl up and just like love this moment right now. And of course, there's always different experiences you do have. Sometimes you're like, oh, good God, what the fuck happened? Oh, wow. It takes a little bit longer. You got to go outside and ground in Mother Nature. And then you have other days where you're just crying and you don't know what it is. And that's the beautiful release. That's the trapped emotions. And this is the biggest thing I noticed, like when I do the breath work, is I have lots of releases. I have beautiful tears that come out. I have anger sometimes. I have like the emotions that we're not taught to process. Like, don't you be angry, don't you be sad, come out. And it's so beautiful because that's the trauma releasing. That's the trapped stuff that we've pushed down for years. And it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful to witness it. It really is. Because this brain, this part here, is not getting in the way of the logical bullshit and trying to tell you, oh, wonder what that is. Oh, wonder what you're feeling like. Ooh, and all that different stuff that makes you stop what you're doing and think. It's friggin' awesome. The fact that it does that is just, it's a gift. It's a gift to a person that does it. Because that part of the brain is where we spend all our time. And when we spend all our time in there, it can be a very confusing place.
Yeah, well, I mean, the piece here is balance, isn't it? Like and I think it was Dr. Joe Dispenza's book where he talks about the thalamus, how it's a switching station between thinking and feeling. And then if you're thinking, it's an illusion. You're actually, it's an illusion that you can think and feel at the same time. If you think, you cannot feel. And if you feel, then you cannot think. But there's a lightning switch in the middle. And so it's like that dominance of the thinking actually prevents us from being in that feeling state that you were talking about. And it's like, it's so simple to just feel again is to just take one breath, one belly breath, and to feel all the sensations, and boom.
It's funny, I wrote a post today about I got a message about eliminating coping mechanisms. I'm like, oh my God, I've done so much work. I've eliminated so much out of my life. What the hell's going on? And I knew it was alcohol and overeating. I knew it. But I didn't want to acknowledge it. And that was the thing. I was like trying to feel it. And then my logical mind was coming. I was like, nah, I don't want to feel it. Don't want to think about it. Don't want to go there. And that's what happened. I just squashed it down. And then until, of course, it came back up again. And it really comes down to your level of awareness of allowing yourself to sit in your truth. When you allow yourself to sit in your truth, and that is your truth a lot of the time comes is when you're doing nothing. It's just when you're just sitting, when you're allowing, when you're observing. And that is the place that, I mean, for me, all my fucking life, there was no way I wanted to go into that space because I didn't want to see anything. I wanted just to avoid the avoidance. And when you do the breath work, it allows you to open up a new perspective. And does it activate your subconscious? It activates your subconscious, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah. So then the memories come in and all the different pieces like that, because 80% of our life is sitting in our subconscious. We only run with 20% in our conscious mind. So we've got all this past life stuff, all these feelings, all these emotions, all these things that we've squashed down. So when you're doing the breath work, and it's not like all this shit's going to come up for you, don't think that, please, but it's like you allow yourself to actually be still for what the body needs and what the mind needs and what the soul needs to move through in that moment. It takes away all the overthinking. It really does, and it's just beautiful. I just love it. I really do. And you can see I'm a huge fan, which is why I did the course.
And yeah, 100%. It's exactly as you said. It uproots what's in the unconscious, and the unconscious is run by, like you said, 80-90% of the brain, right? And we turn off that top layer, and then the unconscious intelligence that runs like our heartbeat, runs everything in our nervous system, gets to work. And I also love the piece that you shared around, don't think that all this shit is going to come up.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
And the only time it feels like shit, when shit is coming up, is when we fight it or we resist it.
Yes. Good point. Love it.
And people think, they go into these spaces and they think they have to get somewhere. I have to have a breakthrough. I have to have a transformation. If I don't, there's something wrong with me. And when we come in with that resistance already there, or that need or attachment to get somewhere other than where we are, which is fundamentally perfect for where we're wanting to go, then we immediately set up a wall. And this is it. It's like, this is the wall, and we're just bashing our head against it, wondering why it hurts. And then finally breaking through it and being like, oh, I'm exhausted, because we were trying so hard to not be where we are.
Yeah.
Whereas in breath work, like these breakthroughs, when the shit comes up, it's bliss. It is absolute bliss if we choose it, because we choose it as a byproduct of just being so freaking present with our breath right now, with who we are right now, with our perfection right now.
And that's a hard space for a lot of people to live in, because we're also programmed to multitask and to worry about what we're doing in the future and to think about what happened in the past and to act it. And we're using so much of our energy in that moment. And that's another reason why I think that breathwork's really beautiful, is because when you're in breathwork, you're in it. So all your energy, all your focus, everything is in that moment of the simple bliss, the moment of the nothing, of the void. And when you're in that void, same as when I went and did plant medicine. First time I did it, I was like, oh, I'm going to have these transformations. I'm going to be a new fucking woman. I'm going to see all these things. I'm so excited. You just said, yeah, I was like, yeah, man, I'm going to see me on a cliff with all my fucking tribe. Oh my God, did I get a kick in the ass? I got none of that. I got none of that. I was like, and my husband's like, oh my God, I saw myself. And I'm like, shut up. No, I didn't tell him to shut up. I'm just joking. But I was like, inside, I was like, and I went into judgment, and I went into all these different things started coming up. And why didn't I have that effect? Why did he have that? I do all the work, and all this bullshit started coming up. So it's really good that when you do any of this sort of work, is to just surrender and let go of control. And that was actually the biggest message that the grandmother ayahuasca gave me. She's like, relinquish control. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? I want more. And it's been the most profound thing she told me. I want more. I want to see. I want to. Oh, God. So it was hilarious, and that's just what you said. I had all these expectations on what it was going to be like. I had all these things in my mind of what was going to transform. And I'm like, yeah, I've been doing a lot of work. This is going to be great. Ego. So it was like, okay. And you know what she does? She slapped you down and gives you a bit of reality. And it's the same with breathwork. The first time I did it, I was like, I was doing it, but there was a sense of me that was holding back from completely letting go, because I'm a past control freak. I still have moments of it, obviously, because still working through that one. But and I did that. I was like, oh, what's going to happen? And my mind. But the minute I dropped into it, everything changed. Everything changed. And I didn't have any huge transformations the first time I did it. I just felt so bloody good. It was like, and I was like, yay, I did it. Yeah.
To that. Yeah. I love that you had those experiences and then you persisted and just went even deeper. Like that's what is so incredible about who you are. Like you are a true master. You just keep going into mastery in everything. And you're this eternal student. Yeah, I really see that and I honor that in you. And yeah.
Thank you. I just see you as Farlap. You know, Farlap, the horse that had the biggest fucking heart and the biggest heart of anybody. No, I'm not saying you're a horse, but your heart is just, and it comes through it. What?
But I can't know, but I like that. I'm like, no, I'll be that. I'll be the heart horse.
In other words, a heart on legs. It's brilliant. So what would you like, what was the last thing that you would like to say to the audience? What would you like to leave them with? What words of wisdom would you like to channel through?
The piece that you shared around, it wasn't like this huge, tremendous breakthrough. It was like a practice. And even if when you start, speaking to the audience now, even if when you start it feels like nothing is happening, just know that something is. Just know that if you breathe and you hum on the exhale, it was like Lundeberg and I don't know how to say his name, Wishlak, I can find it later if anyone wants to study. They did a study and they looked at one humming breath. So one in through the nose and then hum. And it increased the amount of nitric oxide in the lungs by 15 times. 15 times more nitric oxide, right? And it's like, do I actually feel any different right now? No, but I literally just put 15 times more nitric oxide in my body. So things are changing. Things are happening. And so for any of you that are like, oh, I'm not that great at meditation, I hate sitting still, I think the big message from my heart to yours is that you don't have to sit there forever. You don't have to force yourself to do something that you don't want to do. If you can only do 3 minutes a day, 3 minutes is going to fucking change your life.
Yeah, totally.
And my teacher used to say to me, he said, if you think you can do 20 minutes every day, do 10.
Ooh.
It was like, yeah, cool, right? He's like, then you're going to stick to it. And I was like, cool. And so it's literally like that, like every single day, it's 10 minutes. And then if I can fit in anything more because I want to, great. But there's no pressure of like needing to achieve enlightenment. It's like the greatest practice of all for all of this work is acknowledging that there is nothing about you that was ever broken and that ever needed to be healed and that you have always been whole. And all that's happening is the remembering of that truth and the disremembering of every story that you've been told and has been conditioned through your lineage to make you believe that you were ever impure. That's all we're doing. We're unweaving stories and returning you back to your natural divine state.
Beautiful. I nearly felt like saying, amen, sister. That was beautiful. I loved every bit of it. Yeah, and it's just so true. Like, and that is all we're doing. We're just unlearning all the bullshit. We really are. We're unlearning fucking lives and lifetimes, and especially in this lifetime, because this is the lifetime of our biggest transformation, of our biggest shifting, of our biggest moving, of our biggest changes. And it's so powerful, so powerful. Oh, I love your magic of medicine. So potent. So how can people how can they get to you? How can they get into your magic? More.
Awesome. There's a couple of different ways. I've got a podcast on Spotify called Breathwork. There's about 6 or 7 really short practices on there so they can just get started straight away. I'm also on Insight Timer. There's about 4 or 5 free practices on there too under Tan. And then obviously contacting me on Facebook as Berenice Tan. Leisa, I'm sure, will put the details down the bottom, and you can just add me
right there on screen. But you'll definitely have your details down below. I love it. And if you're thinking about learning to do breath work, I can highly recommend this goddess. I really, really can. She just, and it's funny. It was more than breath work what we learned. So yeah, go deep with her if you want to. I became a facilitator via her, and it's the best thing I did. Definitely loved it.
I love you. May I speak to that training as well a little bit? Is there space?
Yeah, go for it.
Beautiful. Okay, so we've actually broken down a couple of levels now, and we have a high level embodiment container. So level 1 training is about if you want to jump in and you actually want to embody it for yourself, like that's the one for you. And then if you want to learn the medicine and share it with your community, and that's level 2. And then there's another level which is about, okay, you've done so much of the healing work already that you know all the things. And this one is about unlearning all the things.
It's like coming back full circle. I love it.
And so for all levels of the journey, there is something for you. So if you feel the nudge or feel the call, jump on my Spotify, jump on my Insight Timer, try one of those practices first, feel my energy. If it feels good for you, then reach out and we can have a conversation.
Love it. Beautiful. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I just love that. It was beautiful jamming with you and talking and just getting back into your energy again.
Yeah. Thank you, Leisa. Thank you so much for what you represent and symbolize in our community. Like, I'm truly honored to witness how you support and lift up everyone around you. I see it not just in your community, but in your peers. And it's rare. It's rare to see someone so devoted wholeheartedly to uplifting other women. And so I really honor you for that.
Right back at you, sister. Beautiful. Oh, yummy. Well, thank you so much for coming on, listening to another episode of The Art of Quantum Healing, and we'll be seeing you all very soon. Yay! We need to do a dance one because that's how we'd always end everything.
That's true.
Shalabella.
Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel and help us grow the community by sharing it with your friends. I am your host, Leisa Nadler, and this is The Art of Quantum Healing.